Welcome to the Rugby Bits podcast. We're here after the final weekend of European rugby. We have two champions in the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup. Bordeaux repeating, and Montpellier beating Ulster. Two big wins by the French teams over the Irish teams in sunny Bilbao. It was looked like a festive atmosphere. We'll talk about that. We'll preview the URC quarterfinals. There's also a big return to that's coming back to the Stormers for next season. So a lot to get through today. I'm joined by Sean. We Cooks just told us that he is busy eating French pastries and enjoying the tennis and Roland Garros. I mean, he
Again,
has a pretty tough life.
he's in Paris again.
Yeah, look, yeah, you can't hate on the type of life that Cooks is able to live there. But yeah, he's busy with the French Open for work. So yeah, you've only got us today. But yeah, I don't think I've ever been as jealous of someone when he sent that picture.
Yeah, that's true. So I actually knew he was there because I saw on some of his social posts that he was there, and I was
Yeah.
like, "That's pretty cool." And then I was thinking, could the super sport employees be the only people that are happy that Canal Plus bought them out?
I mean, fair.
I think they are the only. Everyone else, all the subscribers in South Africa are umming and ahhing, and we don't really know what's going on. But Cooks, he was up there doing rugby, and now he's there in just watching clay court tennis, the best ever. How
I,
lovely!
yeah, if he gets like tickets to the top 14 like barrages or final, then I might put in my CV that next day.
Absolutely. I can carry bags. I can carry bags. I can fetch pastries. I don't know. What do you need? I can do it. I can totally do it. I can scout out the venues beforehand. I'm happy to do the legwork.
Yeah.
I just want a seat. I just want a seat.
I
But
think I can
to be
carry.
fair,
Yeah.
during the URC final when I went up, I got two tickets for Cooks and I because
Yeah.
I got two because Cook said he might be able to join or not. So I got two tickets.
I
And
remember.
then he
Yeah.
said to me he's going to do some pre-game stuff. I obviously stayed at him for the final where the Bulls played Glasgow. We went through to the game. He did a little bit of work, and I sat by myself next to look. I'm sure it was Wilco Louw's brother because his legs the man had the biggest legs ever, and then Wilco walked up at the end of the game and waved in sort of the direction that we were, and I was like, they have to be family. The man was a beast. But anyway, I sat the whole game, but yeah, solo. Ringo was in front of me with his fam, but Cooks never made it because he was just grafting the whole time. He walked past once and looked at me and waved. So he
Yeah.
works hard. Social media, he's just like, oh, beers, croissants, and sunshine. Meanwhile, the other 23 hours of the day, the guy's behind camera running around like a madman.
No, I've seen Cooks also in action in a URC final, the Stormers Munster one in Cape Town. And yeah, I mean, I got him for like 15 seconds, but that was
Yeah.
literally the in between of like shots and things that he had to set up for that. So look, yeah, he's working. He's definitely deserving of all of these trips that he's able to do. Yeah, look, if he better brush up on his French, he might get himself into like the studios with Thierry Dusautoir and Sebastian Chabal talking about like top 14 like playoff stuff. So he could get
You
himself there.
you know my take on that. Like I watching that Canal Plus have that channel during the like that final round where everyone's playing at once and there's basically
Mm,
they just highlight whatever's happening in a game at the
yes.
time. There's so much going down. So much. And we want to
Yeah.
have Cooks and Chabal, little scrum, couple of beers, stuff like that.
Imagine we get Sebastian Chabal onto this podcast. Speaking of
Cooks,
French,
Cooks, we just threw you a pass. I hope you can catch it.
speaking of French people, it's been a wonderfully successful weekend for French rugby. They win both the Champions and the Challenge Cup. It's the sixth Champions Cup win for French teams in a row. I think in the Challenge Cup they're 4 and 6 in the last 6 years. And Bordeaux repeat, they are double champions, winning 41 points to 19. They were 35-7 up at halftime. And second half, they sort of just went into neutral and just sort of coasted into the finish line. Sean, I think more on a wider picture, any team that's, I mean, we know in the Champions Cup history, any team that is able to win two in a row or even like 2 in 3 years, that's a elite team. That's one of the great teams in club rugby. And yeah, I mean, I'm keen to obviously hear your thoughts about this Bordeaux team, like more specifically. But I think the main thing we can take out of this is an elite, all-time great team. If there was doubts last year that maybe, got slightly lucky not facing Leinster and maybe Toulouse wasn't fully fit without Dupont, this year they put it without a shadow of a doubt, beating the top 14 champions, the Prem champions, the URC champions on their way to their second Champions Cup.
Unbelievable. Um, and those French sides, the lot is in the last 6 years, it's been French sides, but they've all done it back to back.
Mm.
So it was Toulouse 2 years in a row, La Rochelle 2 years in a row, and now Bordeaux 2 years in a row. I'm right in saying that, eh?
I think Toulouse wasn't 2 years in a row. They won the first one, then it was the double for La Rochelle, then they won the next one, then saw the
Uh,
double for, yeah.
okay, so Toulouse are the worst side out of those three French sides. Is that what you're trying to say? Um, yeah, it's quite something, and obviously listening to a few podcasts and a few people chatting or whatever, the French machine is rolling on big time, big time. And Bordeaux at the moment are looking good. The one thing that I think is quite evident about Bordeaux and La Rochelle actually in their wins is how much of a free vibe and how much fun they seem to be having. I know winning is fun, but to lose, they seem more serious. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm not
Hmm.
throwing shade on anyone, but it's just the guys are having so much fun. Like they're so focused, they're so clear on what they need to do. They've got a really good balance of what's happening. I'd like to know who the serious guys are. Like I'd like to know who those old hats are that you tend to avoid. But yeah, it's good. They've balanced things out really well. I think everything has come in this year. The irony of Bordeaux this year is their top 14 side and their Champions Cup side are completely different. They're the same faces, but they're operating differently.
Mm.
Matthew Jalibert has, since, I mean, everyone wants him to overtake Ntamak, and then he had a falling out with Fabien Galtier. Then he left training, and we're like, this guy's never going to play for France again. To being where he is now, where he is playing what often looks like second fiddle, and in a French setup, that's not unusual for a 10 to play behind his nine because
Mm.
the nine is the everything. Captain, decision maker, head coach, whatever. That's what your nine does. But Jalibert's very much a hands-on kind of a player. And the thing is he's still hands-on, but he trusts everything a little bit more, or Lucu trusts him. I don't know how the balances work, but Jalibert's playing different rugby. He's playing very different rugby. Nothing is forced. Every decision he makes, he's made like a good chess grandmaster. He's made 3 phases prior, and he
Mm.
knows what's happening, when it's happening, why it's happening. Um, but yeah, they're looking good. They've made a bunch of changes. Obviously, Penaud at 13. I think as much as we've seen Penaud at 13 before, he's played there quite a lot before. If you'd said, listen, Bordeaux are going to go for the final round of the Champions Cup, go all the way playing this team, and this team with Penaud at 13, you'd be like, I don't know if it's going to work. He's
Yeah.
done really well. And then, yeah, it was amazing. Bill Barret also plays such great rugby, whether he is required to do blockbuster stuff or not. And that's probably the difference for me. Like in South Africa and a lot of places, if there's a star on the team, that we very seldom get to a point where the balance kind of figures itself out and stuff like that. No, I wouldn't say we don't get there. I think it takes a lot longer, or it seems like the journey is a lot longer for them to settle than what we've seen with like Intimax Jalibert, Bilbare, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's a good place to start with those two, Lucu and Jalibert. This has been such a fantastic season for Jalibert in the Champions Cup and in the Six Nations. Um, Mostly, I think in the Six Nations, he was able to play really good rugby, really consistent. You could maybe sort of take a few marks off for the Scotland, the England games, but most of all was just driving the game plan, was able to pick his moments. I think that's the main thing you need to do when you're a flyer as talented as him. Like you don't need to do the hero ball thing every phase, but just wait for it and the opportunity comes. On Saturday, I think that might have been the best game I've ever seen him play. And it wasn't because he did like a crazy run or he stepped 40 people or he kicked to himself in his own try line like he usually does. His field kicking was amazing. Every time him and Luku kicked, it felt like they found space and they were, oh, as I need to charge my laptop, they were able to. I just saw the warning. I was like, oh, I need to run. They were able to find space and they were able to get ground and they were able to put Leinster under pressure. Like they absolutely dominated the kicking exchange. And Leicester's a good kicking team. Like it's not unusual. It's pretty unusual for a team to beat Leinster in that. But they were able to find space. They were able to put Leinster under pressure. They were able to dictate terms, and that a lot of the other things, and we'll probably talk about it, sort of came from them just being able to kick and to get, to control the territory. Then I think just the decision making, like I don't think Jalibert did that many runs. It's not like he carried a million times like he usually does. Like he's sort of like a Sasha and a Finn Russell where he's getting a lot of ball and he's carrying it a ton as well. But this wasn't a game where he carried a lot. It was a game where he was able to rely on his other players. But as you said, like he was able to take a step back. He did it also with France as well, with Dupont. But obviously Luca and Dupont played differently, but in some ways they're quite similar in just putting their stamp on the game. And Luke, who's everything was just top class. He was, top for kicks. He was also top for tackles, which was something that's been consistent in all of these knockout rounds. That he was just, I guess that's the defensive system for Bordeaux. He's sort of at the front line. He's absorbing hits from forwards. He's able to really like, if not get a pretty good hit, he's able to at least absorb and just to stop momentum for people. Like I know in the quarterfinal against Toulouse, he was just a nuisance for Dupont as well. But he leads from the front. Obviously, he's an important player for Bordeaux. You could see how the crowd reacts to him, like when he came back from his yellow card, like they just roared. Like he's the player for Bordeaux. And their ability to control the game just put them. I think if they we were talking about this before. I don't think Leinster were too far off in most places in the field. I think this was the one exception. The kicking and the tactical control, Luke and Jalibert were just far ahead of what Leicester produced at 9 and 10.
Yeah. Yo, Lucu was unbelievable. He was the hype man on the day as well.
Mm.
He was like pre-game, apparently he was just like running around getting the crowd in the mix. But the thing about Jalibert is he he's got so many threats at the moment. He's probably one of the best kick pass run 10s there are. Like we talk a
Mm.
lot about a kick pass run 12 and how valuable they are, but he's a massive kick pass run 10. Um, Probably the best in the game at the moment. But there's a fourth factor to someone that is a kick pass run player and an elite one is the the thought of him doing something but he doesn't. So them skipping him or him just shoveling
Mm.
it on, like he's always going to draw someone because the thing is when you're facing Bordeaux, when you're facing many French sides, you're expecting something between 9 and 10 always. And it was crazy. It was so good to watch. I do want to talk about an unsung hero of the game.
Hmm.
And I think there are three spaces that I'm going to mention. One, I thought the Bordeaux defense was incredible. Um, Leinster ironically had a better tackle success rate. I don't know what the
Mm.
final numbers were, but they had very good tackle success rate, which we'll chat a little bit about later. Carl Lusardi, South African, Safa's abroad, but the story of 2 years ago, I mean, not only was his career nearly done, but so he was nearly as well.
Mm.
But the unsung hero and a guy that doesn't get any sort of gold stars for Saturday, but Yoram Moefana at
Mm.
12, I thought was outstanding. I would go as far as saying it the top three players on that field as a whole were Lucu, Woki, and Moefana.
Mm.
I think Moefana could possibly have been the second best player there and Woki third. He was unbelievable. Also, a very high tackle count.
Mm.
I distinctly remember two of his tackles were momentum stoppers, big ones,
Yes.
big ones. There probably was another one. I seem to think there were three, but there were two that I remember. It's the kind of tackle that drives a team back, and not only does it stop their momentum, but it just takes the air out of their lungs, and they're just
Yeah.
like, we can't do this. I thought his touches were good. I didn't see him out of position once. He was incredible.
I'm so glad you said that, Sean, because he was on my list of players to sort of bring up later. But he was
Sorry.
also just fantastic. He was just genuinely world class on also approaching his best probably that I've ever seen
Your mic's
as
going all wonky donkey again.
uh,
Oh, yeah. So I'm not very good and well versed at this. I should have jumped in a lot sooner. And straight back to
I
you,
think I'm
Thala.
here now. Oh, sorry about that. No, I mean, my mic just got excited about me talking about Moefana, but also, like, I think you mentioned pretty much all of it. Like, I don't know if he was I mean, I don't know if you've heard about this controversy in English football with Southampton and them spying on the team that they were supposed to face. It felt like Mofana was at the Leinster training the last few weeks and was just able to read everything that Henshaw and Ringrose were doing. I mean, to be fair, Henshaw and Ringrose have played a million times together, so maybe not as hard to read, but he was an absolute nuisance for Henshaw. He made so many big tackles. I'm surprised he didn't get like none of the tackles were seen as dominant in the rugby pass stats. So that's quite surprising. But to me, they like you said, Sean, maybe they weren't necessarily dominant, but they definitely stopped momentum, if not changed momentum for the team. He ran quite well as well. He was able to put himself in like I mean, it's going to be hard to find a Bordeaux player that wasn't impressive, but he was really good at 12. He was able to just shut down most attacks of what Leinster were trying to do. And he obviously did his job at 12. And it's great because he did look a bit dodgy at the end of the Six Nations when he came back from injury and his first few games for Bordeaux in the like last 16 and the last eight also he didn't look himself. This was like okay, this is the Mofana we saw last year in the Six Nations. I was looking like, oh, this guy could be world class. Pinot, I mean, we mentioned Pinot, but Pinot at 13 has been fantastic. I think there's been no real faults there. I mean, I half forgot that he was obviously pretty much a 13 for Clermont. There's so many things about like what does this or like where does this leave Fabien Galtier and what he needs to do for his team because you look at that Bordeaux backline, there's very little you can there's very little you can reject from there. Obviously, Rayasi, you can't pick him, but all the other players, you like I'm kind of forced to giving them a chance. They've been fantastic. They're good at defensively. They're great in attack. They're so heads up with everything that they can do. They're able to exploit space and they're able to play a good pressure game. And their defensive system just holds so true. Like, not that it is I don't think you would call it like a big rush defense like the Leinster one is. They'll absorb and absorb, but they give their fetchers so many chances. So maybe I'll take it to the forwards now just a great performance, I think, from everyone in the pack. Another unsung hero, you mentioned Woki, but But Bocaton, he is just a workhorse. He was off for the blood bin, I think, 6 times, but he will just put his body on the line and just commit whatever sort of thing short of a crime that he needs to do in order to make sure that his team secures the ball. France always feels like they produce one flanker like that for each of their top 14 teams, like the flank that's going to sacrifice his life. And Bocaton was that. Gazzotti was, industrious and impressive. And I'm so looking forward to how he grows as a player. Boris Palou, I don't think I've seen him play this well. Like, I've always thought he's almost like not a big lump. Like, that feels a bit derogatory to say that, but I was like, okay, he's big, but I don't know if he makes an impact, but he definitely made one today. Poirot is just an absolute nuisance in a ruck. And Ben Tamifuna might be sort of getting close to that Kwagga Smith level of best impact player off a bench in the world. Like, he changes the game time and time again. Because he came on when the Bordeaux scrum was starting to go back. Maybe Carlos Sardi was, his legs were gone. And I mean, he has big legs, so you that's quite easy for it to happen. He sort of gets the scrum a bit stable, against Porter and Furlong. So obviously, literally the Irish front row for the last few years. And then he gets two important turnovers just when the game seemed like maybe Leicester could make a comeback. So he has just been absolutely impressive in all like three of these big knockout games.
Thala, your mic is causing a problem for me because I'm struggling with how to get back in the mix. But on that loose trio, like Bocaton and Gazzotti, I thought were huge, and obviously Woki I spoke about. Um, but that loose trio, it seems well balanced for a loose trio that probably, if you had to look at it previously, wouldn't be the most balanced in that it looks more like there's like two six and a halves playing as opposed to an open side and a blind side. Um, Boris Palu, I hear what you're saying. Like he just very quietly like has been there and you can overlook him very easily, but he I mean, you're up against McCarthy and you're up against Ryan, and to kind of keep them quiet and just make them not available essentially is huge. The way that they balanced everything and how they figured this out and got everything sorted for the final was probably one of the greatest tactical moves ever, because there were guys that stepped up and did stuff that was huge. The Jefferson Poirot thing for me, that was actually where I thought Bath were gonna be in with a shot, because Poirot was suspended for the Bath game. And
Mm.
I did see him. He does so much. Like he doesn't look physically like a Thomas Dutoy. He's been around for a long time. He's been in and out of the French squad, and you kind of look at him like he can scrum, but he's sort of mobile. But now he started scrumming. He's mobile, but he's doing a bunch of other stuff. Like there's other aspects to his game. They really have done so well there. But the big one for me, I think Coleman. Coleman,
Mm.
it's it's really it's the balance of that whole pack that is huge. And the balance of bringing Big Ben in when you bring him is huge. Obviously, we know that the top 14, they've got like those rolling subs, which I would love to spend more time watching because I quite like the idea of this. It's quite intriguing. But
I think they're taking it away next season.
oh man, don't say that. But yeah, I think it's silly to have something like that in the top 14 when you've literally got it nowhere else in
Mm.
any rugby, unless you're playing under fives or you're playing like club rugby in the 58th division. But it's huge. Like, I mean, bringing Tameifuna on, how do you get him off his game? Like, you're going to be tired. There's going to be a majority of your team that's tired when Big Ben comes on. He's operating on vibes all the time. That guy's got to be head of fines meetings. He has to. I almost feel like it's non-negotiable. But then he comes on and then he gets over the ball. Even if he misjudges it somehow, you're still not moving him. So often you get pinged, like if the second bite at the cherry, like you go in to get something, you kind of half cleared off, you kind of move the player away and go in again. You can't do that with Ben, because if you get him off, then you're like back in the mix because he hasn't moved, even though he has. Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, his ability in the ruck is just ridiculous, especially for a man his size. Like he made such big impacts there. Glad you mentioned Adam Coleman. Another one you could also mention is Kevin Matu. Like I mean, just being able to bring him on was really good. And obviously, because Bocaton was on and off with his blood issue, like he got like two or three chances in the game and was able to make big impacts there. Like carried well. There was one kick chase he did because of his red scrum cap. I was like, oh, there's BLPRE. And I was like, no, that's Matu, just absolutely
Yes.
smoking Rico Ioane. So I mean, I see why Galtier's picked him in the French team and why he's, someone in the national setup. Like he's been really good. Yeah, I think the main or sort of my big takeaway, sort of more like big picture, is last season was, for at least for me, being like, oh wow, look how impressive the Bordeaux attack is and how they're able to just get 40 points on anyone and they're able just to score and they've learned really well. But when you sort of take a step back, you realize 2 years ago, pretty much this time 2 years ago, they got beaten by like 60 points by Toulouse in the top 14 final. And, they're sort of coming up. It looked like they was getting close to the Toulouse level. Toulouse sort of shut the door on them and said, it's not your time yet. Last year, they win the top 40, I mean, the Champions Cup. But you're thinking, you know what? They were able to avoid Leinster. They got through Toulouse, but there was no DuPont. So, you kind of like, did they really earn it? And maybe they're just a really good attack. And you're still not sure about, the likes of Jalibert and their pack and their defense in a big game setting. This year's one of those, it's without a doubt. They have an elite defense, a defense that just is really hard to score. And every team that faced Bordeaux in this run had a situation of they got a lot of opportunities in their 22. They just were not able to convert them. And on the opposite side, Bordeaux's able to just convert pretty much every opportunity that they're getting in their 22. And their kicking game is fantastic. They do all the little things well. Their rolling wall is really good. Their scrum obviously is quite good. If you have Sardi and Tamifunda anchoring it, that's will put you in a good place. And then they're able to sort of add the bullshit essentially on top to really be able to score tries that they're not supposed to score. So like from Jalibert's pass to Rayasi, I think it was the second try in that 5 meter scrum, where I don't. I kind of feel sorry. I mean, we'll talk about Leinster and Rico Ioane, I'm sure, soon. But I don't. I see what Rico Ioane was trying to do. He saw LBB, he saw that red scrum cap, and he was like, let me gun for him because he's probably getting the ball. And then Jalibert's pass was just able just to outflank him, outflank everyone, and now you put Rayas into space. It's, that try that LBB scored, where Jalibert just, it's everyone's honey potted around the ruck. Jalibert is able just to sort of just pop it out. And now, you have LBB in all of that space. That's the try from Pinot when he gets the loose ball, he kicks it ahead and passes to LBB. It's Moefana getting that intercept. Like they're able to capitalize on any of your mistakes. So it just means the margin for error for any opponent is so small. I think we've said this literally in the Toulouse game and after the Bath game. Like there were chances. It's just that Bordeaux's going to take all of theirs or a lot of theirs. So you need to be almost perfect in taking yours. And because of their defense, because of their kicking, because of their pressure on rucks, you don't have that chance. So yeah, this really sort of confirmed to me, this is an elite team. This is one of Europe's most elite teams in the history of the Champions Cup.
Yeah, I don't know, like the amount of times that things go their way that are, you can see as, you can put it down in the column of, oh, that was a bit lucky or that was a nice bounce, is high. But conversely, anyone that scores points against Bordeaux has to work 10 times harder. That's the difference. Like if you look at Bath, the tries and stuff they scored on the podcast, I mentioned it looked like they were snatching a little bit, like you had to do a last gasp dive for the line, or it was a little bit of a scramble, or you needed to rush something along. Leinster was their first try 20 plus phases. Like that's their game. They've sort of built a foundation of everything about them, and Ireland has really been about just those little steps and just building them together and just creating momentum. And we'll just keep coming and keep coming. It's almost boring. Like, I suspect we may be moving into the era of batshit crazy. Like, if we may be moving into that space where the erratic, the elite heads up players and systems are going to be profiting the most. And it's crazy. It's crazy how much stuff goes their way. Intercepts are controversial. You can look at it like that's a great defensive play, or you can look at that like it's a great defensive read to do it, or the defensive pressure has forced it, etc., etc. But Bordeaux do things differently. They did a reversed test match. They did what like the All Blacks and this Ireland used to do to people is they would scoreboard pressure you in the first 40 minutes. They would create momentum, get penalties. If they are far out, they will kick to the corner, do something, get the 5 or the 7, but more often than not in the first 20, 40 minutes, you're going to be kicking for goal. Bordeaux were like, cool, it's on. They just heads up the whole way. Then the second half, they completely changed. And it was very much a very clear change for me, in that it wasn't that they were resting or that they were like, we've got this one. It was very much a case of, we have defended so well. We have put you on your arse so many times. We've got the score. We'll just kick you far. You need to come back. Our defense is good. You're worried about our defense. And then, oh, look, you've infringed. We can still kick a 55-meter penalty. It's okay. Yeah. We'll waste the time. We'll just put a little extra points on it, because like it was unbelievable. It was perfect. Like, seeing how they went from a heart rate of 160 to a heart rate of 92 in the second half. They just settled down and basically were like, you have the ball, come through us. Because we know that deep down, you actually worried about coming through us because you can't do it. You know that your multi-phase attack doesn't work against us. You know that the Leinster are great when they break the line. Like, if you think about Leinster, like the elite Leinster, I'm going to get heat for that, but the elite Leinster from a few years back, like, when they break the line, they will go on and score. Like, because they're actually pretty good at scramble attack as well. You know, once they break the line, they set up quick phase, they go, go, go. They've got the players and everything. And Leinster were not breaking the line. And when they broke the line, they were either just broken themselves, shattered, just didn't have the legs for anything, and were or mentally just not trusting themselves. So Bordeaux just broke them emotionally and just said, come, we're waiting for you. And they had nothing. They had nothing.
It's such a weird game in that respect, Sean, because when you look at the stats for Leinster, you think, man, these guys got absolutely dominated in a few areas of the game. So we mentioned kicking. Bordeaux kicked 31 times. Leinster kicked 19 times. Obviously, if you're 28 points behind or whatever, you're probably going to kick less in the game. So you kind of accept that. As you said, Bordeaux were more than happy to just kick it into their half and make them attack from there. But other stats, are you thinking, no, man, Bordeaux dominated this? You're like, actually, the stats don't say that. So clean breaks, Bordeaux and Leinster had tied for 6. Turnovers 1, Bordeaux and Leinster had tied for 6. So you're just like, wait, is my mind playing tricks on me or whatever the case is? But I think apart from the kicking, I think the main thing that sort of tells the story of this game is 22 entries and conversion from that. So Bordeaux had 8 entries. They got 4.3 points per entry, which is insanely ridiculous. Like you
At
get three
halftime, weren't
points.
they on seven?
I think
I,
they
I,
were.
I think at halftime they were 7 points per 22 entry.
Yeah.
Unheard of.
So you get that, you're very happy. You're more than happy to do that. And I mean, yeah, I think they maybe had 2 entries in the second half, genuinely. And, they got the 3 points, I think, from one of them. Leinster had 12 entries, so had more entries than Bordeaux, 1.5 points per entry. So, Sean, there's so many things to break down with this thing because, like I said, I don't think it was necessarily that Leinster were really bad at a specific thing or a few specific things. I just felt like they were like 10% off in in a lot of things, maybe 20% off in other things. I think they play that same game against Glasgow, they probably win. I think they play the same game against the Bulls or the Stormers, they probably win. Maybe even to lose this season, they might sneak a win if it's in Dublin. So I mean, we're going to talk about sort of implications. I get people being like, what does this mean for Leinster and all that sort of stuff. I'm also like, there's a big part of me that's thinking, I think we are underselling Bordeaux and what they did here. I think this is an elite Bordeaux team. And this is, as we've said many times this season, I don't think this is the best Leinster team we've ever seen. But yeah, Sean, I don't know. But then on the other hand, I also don't know what to say to a team that's now lost 5 finals in a row.
Yeah. I'm gonna just go out and say it, like, stop blaming Jacques Nienaber, firstly. Just gonna throw it out there. I uh I think for a team that gatekeeps as much as they do, and Leinster fans will defend this forever, but the truth is
Mm,
you get the pick of the talent in Ireland. Like with the school setup and everything that Leinster have got, they should be doing infinitely better. If I'm not mistaken, I think Leinster had 4 to 500 uh, club appearance, like club caps on show in the starting 15,
mm.
and I think Bordeaux had like 200 and something. So experience versus inexperience. But you wouldn't look at that Bordeaux side and say they're not experienced. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Then you look at it, every single player that ran out for Leinster has a test cap. Every single player that
insane.
ran out in that 15 is capped. 14 Irish, one All Black. And a lot of them have a whack of caps. There's a lot of 50 pluses there. Like they, I, I don't want to say that they're at the end of their journey because they could probably get it up for another season with a few changes here and there. So, like, I don't think they're that far gone, but I think emotionally they are broken. It is, to be fair,
Mm,
it is after a Lions tour. The year after a Lions tour generally terrible for a lot of Lions players and especially teams that have contributed a lot to the Lions squad.
yeah,
But they, we've been saying it all year. They're not in that top group. They're not. They are a side that can make a final and they could win it, absolutely, but they are not a side that you would bet your house on will go on and win a Champions Cup.
mm,
Like only diehard supporters would. There are times where Munster fans would turn around and go, Leinster are going to win the Champions Cup. And as
yeah,
much as it hurt them, we knew it was going to happen. Like it's not like the Toulon side. It's not like the Saracen side. It's not like the Clermont side, even though they didn't win anything major for many years. They were just elite. You knew they were going to go all the way. And Leinster have built up to get to that plateau. They've ridden that wave and they're on the way down. And on the way down means you can create surprises, do a few things. You get a good draw, you get a bad draw, whatever. Who gives a shit? Like you still got to get there and then you go. And I, yeah, the one thing about French sides is they don't hold back. that is the one thing. Like they don't treat Leinster like Leinster. They treat Leinster like they're the opposition, and I'm gonna go there and do everything I can to beat you to death. Um, so yeah, so that's what you do. That's what Leinster do. Like Leinster have got to do things. I almost would say Leinster have gone so far over the edge with certain things that they're too pot committed. So they
Hmm.
are pot committed on this 10 problem they have because they've got two tens
Oh,
that they don't trust anymore, and their only other 10 is leaving. They've got Gary Ringrose, who was going to be the next best thing at 13, suffered a whole bunch of injuries, has had 3 or 4 seasons where he's been unbelievable, but injuries have really hurt him. He hasn't come back to where he was. So there's potential that he's going to go back there. Um, Henshaw was great, injured back, and then came back and was tearing up trees, but now he's not quite there. What did they do in the midfield?
hmm.
Frawley was the option in midfield, but he's gone now. So there's your 10 and your 12. Like Osborne is there. There are guys there that are, I don't know. Like I think they've been overly committed in spaces and they haven't really, ironically, to me, it doesn't look like there's been enough succession planning there. Like they've got the talent, but have they been integrated enough or soon enough? Because the thing is what's happening now with Cullen and him lashing out at the media and the
Yeah.
things he's been saying and doing, that comes from a man under pressure. But when you're under pressure and you're not delivering, because no matter what, and I said this last year when they lost the semi-final to Saints, I said no matter what, even if they win the URC, it's not going to count. Their season will not be a success. I don't care what
Yeah.
anyone says. And the same is happening this year. You're not, if Leinster win the URC this year, it's going to be another meh moment. Like you're going to be like, but you should have done better. We expect you to win it. So you can be there all the time and not win it. It does matter. And
Hmm.
with the pressure of that, you're not really able to bring the guys through. They were forced this year with the Lions tour. A lot of the big name players came back a lot later into the URC
Yeah.
than normal, but it still hasn't worked. They've changed tactics in how they approach finals with teams. Normally, the first team would be rested the week before. Now they're resting them 2 weeks before, mostly. Like, so that has changed. So they are trying to do stuff, but I think they're so overly committed with things. They also know that their guys are running to the end of their cycle. They're under ridiculous pressure. And I suspect they're going to scapegoat Nienaber, they're going to scapegoat Ioane, they're going to scapegoat all the people they shouldn't necessarily be scapegoating. And I know your thoughts on this and that Nienaber's system is working and not working for various reasons, but I think they're going to scapegoat him big time.
Yeah. I'll get to, I think, the bigger picture. I think just in terms of the game, there's just also for Leinster, I think we've mentioned a few of the problems. So we mentioned the kicking game. They just were not able to either find like meters with the in field kicking or put pressure with like their contestables. Like Bordeaux were able to put O'Brien especially under a lot of pressure, and LBB was just obviously chasing like a a bloodhound. And on the other side, Leinster's kicking was largely okay, but just wasn't really good enough to really put pressure on Bordeaux. We've mentioned, the 22 entries and not being able to score. I think with that, it's also the fact that in the 22, they just were not ambitious. Like Bordeaux are so ready to put that killer pass or that very risky pass in order to get through. And another day, maybe it's an intercept, like what happened with Leinster. I think for at least two of the three first 22-meter entries, Leicester were just playing one-off passes. Like they were like a South African team from the 2000s. It was just so weird being like, even that first try, you're like, it's cool that they scored. It was a nice pass by Ringrose to O'Brien, but it's just like, oh, it's just crash ball. It's just crash ball. It's just crash
It
ball. Then
was
gets
it was one dimensional.
yeah, and I was like, that's so weird for Leinster to do that. And that's been, I think, the problem with the attack is just that It's well, and I'll talk in a bit now about sort of the matching of the attack with the defense, but whatever you can say about, the rush and all that sort of stuff, it just feels like the attack is sort of just taking this sort of downturn. And that also is maybe Goodman's now with the Irish team, and now you have Blinder. Maybe Blinder's not as good as Goodman, but people always criticize Goodman as well. So funny enough, but things are not quite connecting with the attack there. I just didn't, like I said earlier, I don't think Byrne and Gibson Park ran the team well on the field. It was a lot better when Frawley came on, but I think it's also because Frawley is just able to run. He's able to sort of beat people off the mark and everything like that. Then I think they just the sort of the small moments where this game is maybe a 10-point game in the last 20 minutes instead of it being a 30-point game, they just lost all of those moments. So they score. The next kickoff, the ball bounces off Pinot, him chasing. It's it's just
It's a 20
Yes.
meter line out for Leinster. They lose that line out. Then basically Bordeaux keeps the ball. They score that first try by Lucu. Okay. Kick off now. Byrne kicks it over. I don't know why he does that. So now it's a 50-meter scrum. Bordeaux attacks. They get lucky with that touch of Keenan by the LBB kick ahead. That's a 5-meter line out, essentially. Bordeaux scores again. Next try, I think that was because I think I made a note of like some of these like instances. So the third try, it's Luca puts in the up and under. LBB wins that up and under. Attack. And then it's that LBB try where Jalibert sort of pops it out. And Bordeaux were just absolutely killers with that. So after that third try, Leicester probably plays their best attacking ball. Like they're able to get people through. They're doing nice tip-ons. Like you know, Byrne is able to sort of get the attack going because that was pretty much the first time Luku kicked and Keenan was able to field it without pressure because Keenan knocked on one, and I think the other two he was tackled essentially when he got the ball. This first time Keenan could catch it and then pass and then sort of start the counter attack from there. They get into the 22 and then they concede a turnover from getting into the 22. Then it becomes those two tries that are probably more luck than anything. The LBB second try and the Moefana intercept. Like in another world, they make better decisions that kick off. They make better decisions, with retaining the ball. Maybe it's 21-7 at halftime. Then you score, then Luca gets off. Then it's 21-14. Then it's a game. It's just felt like they lost all of the big moments. After they scored that first try, and I think it was very important for them to score the first try to have any hope in winning this. And again, as we mentioned, it takes Leicester their whole like petrol tank for them to score against Bordeaux. Bordeaux is 2-3 phases of try. They just every other big moment they're not able to capitalize. And I don't think that was necessarily because, or let me say it like this: are there players that played not great? I think they were. We can mention some of them in a few moments. I think most of the senior players that you expect big performances from were fine, if not good. Balafia was pretty good, and Doris was very good. Ryan was a nuisance, which means he was good. McCarthy was trying his best. Porter was quite mobile, and he held his own in the scrums at certain stages. Sheehan was fine. I think Gibson Park kicking could have been better, but he was fine. But yeah, like it wasn't enough. Like I think they didn't get enough from Keenan. They didn't get enough from their tens. They didn't get enough from their centers. I think they obviously Rico's going to be mentioned as well. Brian, I don't think was good. And the forwards, yes, I can say individual forwards were fine, but generally the forwards were just blown away in contact. They were blown away in the racks. They just weren't able to make an impact there. So I don't know. Yeah, like and now sort of talking about from a big picture, it's like how much is it how much is it of it is it coaching, how much of it is the players, how much is it like the thing is turning down. But I don't know. I think there's many things, but I think what we can all agree on is this Leicester team is worse than it was 2 years ago. It's worse than it was last year. It's mostly the same players. It's not a young team, of course, but it's not the oldest team. I don't think there's too many players that are like you need to retire them. Like I think the only one that's like mid-30s. It's Gibson Park and it's Henshaw. Everyone else is like early and Furlong, of course. Everyone's sort of early 30s or late 20s. And I mean, they're in the Irish system. They play less minutes than anyone else. So you're just like, this team should be like closer than what it is. It just feels like they missed that window. That final in Dublin against La Rochelle, they had the 17-0 lead. That final against Toulouse in extra time, those are the chances. They're now paying for that.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm trying to figure out how to word this because my brain doesn't it's not helping me. Leinster are I don't know, I'm really going to dumb this down. Leinster are greater than the sum of their parts. That's how they operate. They've got really talented players. But where Leinster's greatest strength is those players playing together in the same system, and that's where they excel. Bordeaux have that, but they rely heavily on that heads up and individual stuff. But it's not batshit crazy. It's connected.
Mm.
Like that's why I think we're entering into a different space, or maybe we're not entering into that space. Maybe that space has been pioneered and owned by Bordeaux, and everyone's going to try and replicate something. But I know that attacking rugby is more prevalent now than the previous two World Cup cycles where it's really been defense based. It's been kick and chase and wait for areas where it's so that's a thing. And if you understood what I said, I'm grateful because I don't know how else
Cool.
to explain it.
I think I
But
get it. Yeah.
yeah, but Leinster with that, and you're right, there was no one that was horrendously bad. Byrne was probably the worst of all of them,
Yeah.
and it was unfortunate. It's so weird. Their tens have been weird because Prendergast has had good games and bad games. Byrne came in and was dominating, and you're like, this is their 10 now. Then he had one shocker and he hasn't recovered from that. And then, but they didn't get together as a whole and lift it up. Their together as a whole was three notches below where Bordeaux were. And
Mm.
there were times where Bordeaux didn't look like they were stretching to do whatever they were doing. They looked like it was business as usual. They made Leinster look more amateurish than what they've ever looked before. And not because of Leinster, it was because of Bordeaux. Leinster's dip and Leinster's trajectory over the last few years and what they're doing and how they're doing it has absolutely contributed. But they were comprehensively outplayed.
Yeah.
And they were outplayed in such a way that there's a scar that they may develop from this that no amount of bio oil will get rid of ever. It will stay there forever.
Maybe it's, I don't know, I'm kind of thinking, is it better to be beaten comprehensively than imagine it was another like last minute loss or they were leading and then Bordeaux came back, the other types of losses that they've had in the previous four finals. Maybe you can literally just be like, almost trick yourself to saying it's a bad day. But also, I mean, I don't think these players are stupid. I don't think these coaches are stupid. The writing is kind of on the wall here. But like, it's also just like, I don't even think that they are, at worst, I think they're the fourth best team in Europe. I think it's Bordeaux by quite a distance. I think them, Toulouse, and Bath, you can sort of pick one on a day. Like, one will beat the other, I think, depending on, who wakes up better. But it's just like, obviously for Leinster, the big goal is that European trophy. Like Bath and Toulouse can kind of be happy with their leagues, like because of different reasons, circumstances. Like Bath winning a league obviously is great. They haven't won it in a while. Toulouse, we know how important the top 14 is in France. Literally, Leicester gets nothing from winning their league, like you said. Like it doesn't do anything. No one's excited for them. everyone basically is like, well, you should have done that. So it's so weird because it's not like I think that they are that far behind from like other elite teams, but the elite team is just so far ahead of them. And I just don't know if Leinster can be the next team that goes up. I'd much rather trust Bath putting more things together or Toulouse putting more things together if Bordeaux sort of comes down than Leinster. I think Leinster's kind of like it's definitely a downward sort of trajectory that Leinster are on right now. I just on sort of the individual players, Burn, the intercept, the kick, the kickoff that went too long, he had the most missed tackles, kind of, yeah, like just in first phase, kind of being maybe more of a speed bump than anything. Like, genuinely is one of those, I don't want to say this, but I'll say it. If Sam Ross did the same things that Harry Burns did, like, there would be a ton more talk about Burns' performance here. Like, it was not good. I don't think it was anywhere near good enough. And we can say many things about Sam. I think at least because of the kicking game that he has, all that sort of stuff, it gives you a chance against a team that maybe is far ahead of you. You could probably also lose by another 20 points because of the defense, but he gives you something just different that will keep the Bordeaux and whatever thinking. I've mentioned O'Brien. I don't know if he was just not good or unlucky, or he's also kind of spooked by LBB, but this is like the second time he's had a pretty bad game when he's opposite LBB. I think, I don't blame him for that, but yeah, just passes didn't go to like hand like he wants to. Like he had, I think, two passes intercepted. I think one kick when Leicester was on an attack and he's trying to kick for ground straight into Jalibert's hands. Like just nothing was getting on for him.
And that
Rico,
was nearly a 50-22. Jalibert was
yes,
like, whoo, Christmas has come early.
yeah. Rico, yeah, like, yes, I can sort of be like, can kind of defend some of it, but I think we were talking about this before. Him and I think maybe most of the lesser players, I think they're fully committed to this Nienaber defensive structure because it seemed like every time that there was someone in that 13th or that wing channel that's supposed to do the rush up read, they maybe kind of stopped themselves a little bit before sort of fully committing or saw it too late or maybe were just not in the right positioning. So they never made the ball and all tackle. Bordeaux was able to get the pass away and get it to someone in space to score. And yeah, it's 3 years now, Sean. Like this, I think literally Nienaber said before, it takes you 3 years to master his rush defense. So this is supposed to be when it's coming to fruition. I don't know. I can't even say. I don't know if it's improved too much since last year. Honestly, there might be factors for that, and obviously players haven't been all fully available, but it's just not working for them. And like that Rico read for the try by Uberti when he's trying to hit LBB and doesn't see Rayasi, you can see it in two ways. He's maybe picked the wrong person, but I can fully understand why he's gone for LBB. But that should also mean Keenan should be going for Rayasi. And pretty much Keenan's supposed to, because he was the last person on the left wing. He's supposed to gun for that second last person and try to hit him ball and all if Rico's also going for the ball and all. So there's just a big disjoint in the defense there. But he's like, but I also say this and I'm thinking, you played 13 for about 6 years. Why aren't you better at making these reads by now? I'm sort of expecting you to be the 13 on the wing to be able to make these reads like Ringrose is making them, but that's not happening. Scrum is still going backwards. Same story. Lineout was pretty much of a mess. Like there's that one lineout that Woki, luckily for them, Woki hit it out of the dead ball area. It was a 5 meter lineout. A chance for them to score. I think it was 14-7 at that stage. Just messed that up. Just yeah, like there's just a lot of things that are basic. There's a lot of things that are like fundamental. So yeah, I'll maybe in the next turn say sort of my Nienaber sort of viewpoint, but it's also just maybe non-performances were not like horrible, but there's also just some bad decision making under pressure that was made by the players.
You're 100% right. This wasn't, this was something that we saw coming. The warning signs for this performance have been there. I don't think we ever expected to see it, but the warning signs have been there. Like a whole bunch of things, all those things that you mentioned, like misfiring here, they've relied on Gibson Park forever. The whole world revolves around Gibson Park having a good game. But if he doesn't have a good game and your 10 doesn't have a good game, then everything, the wheels come off everywhere. And they're such a high volume attack side that they need to get through a lot of stuff, like aggregation of marginal gains. Let's make 3 meters every carry, and that will just build up our tank. Meanwhile, it's starting to take out of their tank. On the thing, I agree with you. So I'm not a massive fan of Rieko Ioane at 13. I haven't liked him.
We never knew that.
Okay. It's lately it's come across that I don't like Rieko Ioane. It's because he only ever plays 13. But when he plays wing, he plays well. He didn't have a good game. So they weren't even getting the ball to him. I'm trying to think where Ioane got a ball in a space where you were like, oh, here comes something. It didn't happen. And he was playing wing. So that's not entirely on him. Okay, so there's that. That read, I'm trying to think now. So he picked the wrong person. We know that. I don't think that even if he picked the right person, he would have made a ball and all hit. I speak under correction, but I still don't think he got his timing 100% right there. So, but the most important thing is you've nailed it, is the man outside should be doing the same thing, because you cannot have one guy shooting and creating that sort of a dog leg. Your system will never work because there's a 50-50 chance they're going to break the line and there's going to be a 2-on-1. So it's not working. So
and Keenan was literally nowhere in between. He was between Rasi and Uberti. He had there was no chance Keenan was ever going to impact that last pass.
So he was out of position massively as well. Like when there's a man standing, it's 2-on-1, and your defender's standing in between the twos, then you've messed up. Yeah. Like if it's 2-on-1 and you marking stride directly in front of a man, then you've got something right, in my opinion. Like, and that's the thing. It's not working. But why? Like this whole thing of Nienaber this, Nienaber that. I'm sorry. If you hire someone to be your defensive coach, then you work his defensive system. Has he changed it? Has he been forced to alter it, or are the players not committed? To me, it doesn't look like they understand it, or they're in between two, or something. There's something not connecting there. Someone's done a half-assed job of connecting the electrical wires, and they keep, whenever the car bumps, they move off and your hooter goes off. Like that's basically what's happening.
Yeah,
it's not working.
I get that, and I do think it's stupid to just blame it on Nienaber. I don't think it should be just blamed on Nienaber, but I think though it's just not working. I don't think this Nienaber plan works with these players, and I don't think Nienaber plan works with this attacking game plan.
I will not subscribe to that, because when he leaves, everyone's going to turn and go, yes, that was a fail. I don't want him to turn around that. Everyone's talking about this Nienaber experiment is a fail. There's nothing experimental about Nienaber. Like the Oak is who's the I'm having a cook's rant here. Who's the freaking defensive coach for France, the Welshman?
Edwards. Can't believe it. Sean Edwards.
Yeah, what happens if Sean Edwards goes somewhere? Are they going to talk about the Sean Edwards experiment? No, they're not. Don't give me shit. Like, it's not.
The problem with Leinster is also it's so weird because you also don't fully know who's the head coach sometimes, because it depends on the press release. Sometimes Leo Cullen is making a statement as head coach. Sometimes it's Jacques Nienaber that's the head coach. Like, I think it's also a bit confusing because even when he was announced, Nienaber was announced as head coach, and Cullen was like more of a general manager vibes. And I think sometimes that also doesn't help with the whole like apportioning blame situation, because I think
they got that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. They got that from the South African media. Remember when Jacques Nienaber was head coach of the Springboks, and things were
Yeah.
happening, and they were like, well, Russie's the coach, Jacques just there. So Leinster tried to go with that vibe.
Yeah. But even like I think even with Lancaster, there was some vibe of like, but then in that setup, it seemed like Lancaster was the day-to-day guy and Cullen was sort of in the background. Now Cullen's more day-to-day and Nina was kind of day-to-day sometimes. But yeah, I think it also just messes up people because if they just said Nina was the defense coach, you'd hear as much about him as you hear about Tyler Blaine now or whoever. But Sean, I hear what you're saying. I don't think it's necessarily that it's him or it's an experiment. I think obviously some Irish people are wanting to see a scapegoat. He's an easy scapegoat. I just think fundamentally, this rugby team, the best way to play for Leinster is multi-phase. That's just the best way that they can attack. They just don't have the crazy bullshit players in order to do like one phase crazy things. So if you're going to do multi-phase attack, which means you're going to have to go through 15, 20 phases to score, I think it's just very difficult to be running up and down and trying to make big hits every phase like you would in a rush defense. I think then you have to be like more of an absorbing type of defense and try to sort of pick and choose your moments. And I also think it just doesn't give Doris and Van der Fleer their chances to be absolute goblins and rucks because they're sort of having to sort of make the reads and the shoots and what they're supposed to do. So I don't know if it works for this team, but that doesn't mean I want talent to stay. I think all the coaches from Leicester should go. And Rico Ioane. Rico Ioane go back home. Like this is not going to work for them. I don't think they're going to like we said, they'll probably win the URC in the next 2 seasons. But it really needs to be a new start, a fresh start with a fresh-ish coach. Noel McNamara is the attack coach for Bordeaux. He's Irish, I think. Yeah, he is obviously. He should be the head coach.
Kicked out of
Felix
Leinster.
Jones. Oh, that's awkward. Felix
No,
Jones should be a head coach.
he wasn't kicked out of Leinster, but I know I'm pretty sure he didn't want to leave Leinster when he did.
Yeah, but like I think they just need someone new. Like you can't go with like an oldish. I think they just need a new person, a new perspective, and to sort of try to rebuild again. Because I don't think there'll be a change in coach this year. Obviously, next year there'll be more coaches available, and I think Cullen and Nienaber's contracts also end next year. And then you have more choices with other World Cup coaches and all that sort of stuff. But I think, and obviously a lot of your players will retire. Start afresh, start again. It's just not working with this team. It's not this, the way that they're going might win them URCs. And obviously, before Nienaber came, they were struggling to even win URCs, to be fair. So Nienaber's helped at least raise their floor. But in terms of the ceiling, to really contest against Toulouse and Bordeaux, it's just not going to happen, I think, with them. Sean, I know you have a bit of a time thing. I don't know if you want to say something quickly because then we just need to go through the other things.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think Leinster are going to place the blame in the wrong place. I think they're going to be picking low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't think the RFU will let it happen, but Leinster really look like they're in a Munster-ish position where if they change coach, they might be like, oh, this is not working after 2 seasons. If Leinster go into a slump, their world will implode because of how much resources they've given the
Yeah, jeez.
province and everything. So it's weird. Like, I don't know what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. I'm scared they're going to now gatekeep even more now. And the rest of the Irish provinces are going to struggle because they're going to have like 300 hookers and all that. It's just,
You're probably not going to Connacht anymore.
yeah, yeah. And listen, Rico Ioane has to go back to New Zealand because Lester Nuku, who was the All Black up and coming 13, is now an open side flanker, so they need a 13. So they'll bring Rico back anyway for
Oh, goodness.
that.
Let's not even get into that. Quickly, Sean, Ulster just got pumped by Montpellier. I think at the end of the day, Ulster just ran out of gas to really be able to obviously get into the top 8 URC and to win in the Challenge Cup.
So I had high hopes for Ulster this season. They looked really good, man. They look really, really, really good. I have a funny feeling I picked them to win the Champions Cup this year when
The
we were doing
Champions
our
Cup.
select. Or I picked them to win something outrageous because they had that vibe and they had it for a long period of time. and I thought they would win something this year. It's very weird. I got a little bit of heat on socials, but I said the Ulster really missed someone like Van Cook on Friday. They had they've got two big wingers and they've got two
Mm.
big centers, and those guys weren't brought into the game. And I didn't
Yeah.
understand. Like they weren't doing in your face stuff. And I thought Vandercock would have been the great little catalyst for to light that fire. That man gets stuck into every ruck. If you give him ball in traffic, he's happy. Yeah, Balakoon came good when he got some ball eventually, but they weren't getting ball. And I think
Mm.
that's where Ulster will really rue their opportunity that they lost is they just they just they had the bulk and they did nothing with it. They weren't able to
Mm.
settle in and they just got trampled, man.
Yeah, no, I mean 59-26, a pretty big defeat there. Bekonyi was player of the match. I mean, yeah, congratulations to Montpellier. They're second, I think, in the top 14. So, I mean, they should
Yes.
be in the mix for later in the season here as well. Let's stop there. Big news that have come out of South Africa today is that son of Cape Town, Cheslin Colby, is signed to come back to the Stormers. So he's finished the Sanctuary Sangalife. He'll play for the Stormers from next season. It's weird though, Sean. The Stormers, I always called them the Sharks, but that was probably a Freudian slip. The Stormers have now become the team that is hiring sort of the older Springbok that I don't know if they are helping with the team, but I will say with Kobe, there's been some big problems on the wing. So I can see where Kobe's gonna immediately help and improve the team.
You say that, but historically, the Stormers have let talent go and then bought it back later.
Yeah.
Historically, like they've done it for years. So, yeah. Listen, I'm stoked that he's coming back, but I don't know. Like, ju- I think he should play 15.
Oh,
I think 15 will be a shot. I think you can have Sasha at 10, you can have Willemse at 12, stroke 15, and then you have Chesney at 15, stroke wing. I would like to see him at 15. Um, but yeah, he's leaving Santry early. I saw on one of the things they said he's
mm,
leaving early. So he's obviously not going to be able to play this season, but we'll see him in the Currie Cup. Well, I don't even know when the Currie Cup is. Do we still have a Currie Cup?
we do. I mean, he's gonna be probably busy with the Springboks, won't he?
Yeah, that too.
But I think he's leaving a year early, and
Okay. Okay.
I think it's also he's I think taking a pretty big pay cut as well. But yeah, I think he's just trying to make sure he can finish his career here.
Everyone's taking a pay cut. Like that Dobbo opened up something when they're speaking about this year Khaleesi signing. He's like, oh, he's
Yeah,
taking a pay cut. Like, but no one asked you. So when you keep saying that, like, nah, I don't know.
I
Eben,
think
Eben's
he's
next, surely. Eben and Delendi. Those are the two. Those are the most like the next
almost
most blue and white hooped guys out there
yeah.
not playing under Table Mountain. They've
But
got to be next.
Sean, I was told by Dobbo that there's Project 2029. They're going to try to win the Champions Cup in 2029 if we're still in that competition, and
Yes,
we're
I
going
saw
to
that.
and we're going to build this team for the future. I don't know where getting 33-year-old Sia Kolisi, what 32-year-old Vokolo, 34-year-old Cheslin Colby fits in with everything there because obviously they're great players. Obviously they're going to help your team, but we've seen this with the Shark. There's a critical mass of Springboks where it just doesn't work for your team anymore.
I will say something. If you have signed these players and they have agreed in some way, shape, or form that they are going to retire from Springbok rugby at the end of next year, I might fall on that side of
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay.
But you
Fair
can't say
enough.
stuff like that. What happens if there's like three injuries and something happens, blah, 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 and you're like, listen, Khaleesi, we need you to come back for a tour in November? Stuff
Mm.
like that. It's happened. We've seen it happen. This is not the top 14. We can't pay them enough when they're taking these big pay cuts to not play Springbok rugby either. You see where
Yeah.
I'm going with this?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. Okay, let's go URC quarterfinals. Maybe we'll record later in the week to do a full preview. So we'll stick with the Stormers. They are having their sort of chance to play Cardiff again. So Cardiff beat them in the last round. Storms are hosting them in the third semi-final. They should have Ronald and Siabelo Senakla back. So they should hopefully fix up some of their defensive problems out wide and help their attack as well. Sean, yeah, I mean, I think it should be fine for the Stormers. I think it should be relatively comfortable. And it's kind of like the worst thing for Cardiff to play the team that they just sort of surprisingly beat, because obviously they now awake to that. But the Stormers have been notoriously pretty bad against teams that they should be beating this like second half of the season.
You've said it all, because you're 100% right. Everything, you look at this and you're like, Stormers should win this comfortably. They probably will, but you're not willing to put a lot of money on it because you've seen what they've dished up this year.
Yeah.
That's the scary part. So, yeah. Yeah. Cardiff have also this year caused some upsets. Oh, they have been not their usual selves in a good way, in that they've been pretty consistently operating, but then punching outside of their weight category.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
It's perfectly lined up for a double win for them.
I think there's at least a 15% chance where you wouldn't be too surprised if Cardiff just somehow gets a win there. Which, yeah, I think that's an indictment. The Stormers lose this, it'll be such a big indictment on them. Because, look, I don't think Cardiff is a bad team. They're obviously quite consistent. It's just not a team with like all these. I think there's more Welsh superstars in Ospreys or in Scarlets. Like, Cardiff just has a few good pieces that all fit together well. So, yeah, I mean,
Cardiff's consistency is the biggest scaring point for the Stormers, because the Stormers could come out and have a first half like Bordeaux, but then they could have a second half like they are the Marty's 15th side. You know what I mean? Like that's what you get with the Stormers, the lack of consistency, where Cardiff could operate at 7 out of 10 and the Stormers would be 9 out of 10 in the first half but still lose the game. That's what irks me.
Yeah. The other side, or the other one that's been hosted South Africa is the Bulls against Munster. That's the early game on Saturday. Bulls, yeah, I think they've been in a really good run the last few games. I think they've won their last 6 of 7 in the URC. Munster have had a difficult season in many ways, and then other things that are off the field as well. I was saying to Cooks last week, it's also typical Munster that they play super well and win in South Africa. So that's why I think as a Bulls fan, I'm definitely not looking too forward looking more ahead than this particular game.
This game is the game of the weekend for me, because Munster don't have a problem winning a knockout game in South Africa.
Yeah.
Munster have come off all that stuff. The Bulls have been getting better and doing well, but there is still a few issues that they have. And I think Munster are going to try and lean on that. And Munster are going to go on vibes. Like, they are going to go on, we are going to empty the tank in the first 60 minutes, and then the last 20 minutes we either like wouldn't have done enough, or we're going to still be in the game, and the adrenaline is going to keep us in the game, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to manage your whole run to finish on the 80-minute mark. They're going to finish the game on the 60-minute mark and just let vibes happen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they'll get some of the tight five players that they've had injured the last few weeks, the Burns, the Dogbows, the props. If they do, even just a few of those players, like, it becomes a very difficult game. But yeah, this can definitely be like a 39-36 type of game. It could be a game that goes into extra time. Who will play the Jaden Hendrickson role? That's all we need to know from the Bulls.
I like that. I like that.
The Lions, they obviously now go to the Leinster licking their wounds in the late game on Saturday. They're going away from home. They obviously got beaten by close to 30 points by Leinster, 3 weeks ago. Okay, draw up the sort of the few things that the Lions need to sort out in order for them to spring a surprise here?
I think the Lions need to go with the biggest verbal game ever. They need to break Leinster emotionally. Whether they win or lose, it doesn't matter. It's about the semi-final that the Lions are preparing for, whether they're in it or not. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's unlikely the Lions will win, but they need to break Leinster. They just need to be the straw that breaks the camel's back and just talk about the Champions Cup the entire game so they never forget it. I think this is they need to play the test match to do what's good for the country as opposed to what's good for them.
Yeah. I
Sorry,
would
Ringo.
I would say to them, keep it as loose as possible. Just keep it unstructured. Just you might obviously get absolutely smashed by Ringrose or EPCR on like a read, but there's also a pretty good chance that a haun, a Maashe, like gets away and sort of makes a line break from that. So I think it's offloading like crazy. It's keeping the ball in hand. Like you can't do the percentage plays. I think like Bordeaux could do for a while. They need to be able to just throw it all on the field. Yeah, I mean, an early try from the Lions, maybe an early two tries, and just making the pressure just go up a few notches there. Jeez, I it's one of those where you just like to Leicester as well. How much do you really want to win the trophy that you don't really, the play trophy essentially for you? You're not in the cup tournaments like you're in the old sevens, you're in the play trophy. How much do you really want to win this? So, if they can get an early two tries would be great for the game for this game.
Morne van der Berg must shave his head and he must have Lucu written at the back of his shirt. That's just, Leinster must just have nightmares.
So in the final game, I think this could be actually the game of the weekend is Glasgow Connacht. So again, Glasgow's been, I think, really good. I think they'll get a lot of the players that they haven't um, had access to for the last few weeks and hopefully have closer to a full side. Connacht is probably the most consistent team of the second half of the season. They also have, I think, lost 1 out of 9 and they've been really good. And the Irish players are playing for them. You know what? I mean, I don't. I think Glasgow's still the favorite. I would probably still predict a Glasgow Leicester final, but I think Connacht could actually give them a big scare. Like, yeah, I could see this game being like very tight with 20 minutes to go.
Yeah. The one thing that I think is Glasgow have had 2 weeks now to prepare to not have a Toulon problem.
Yeah.
So, um, like that Champions Cup exit really, really damaged them. And they've had some time to prepare. They are clear favorites against a Connacht side that could roll them, just like Toulon could roll them, but you kind of dismissed it. And then it happened. So I think Glasgow are going to be full on business and they're going to be doing business from the beginning until the 70th minute. I predict that Glasgow will win quite comfortably.
Okay. So who's the most likely out of the four away teams to get the win in the quarterfinals?
Munster.
I can see that. I Yeah, I think Munster's probably the right answer. Like, got the players. I mean, I think largely Casey and Crowley have been good. They just don't really have much else around them. If they can get a few other sort of players back from injury, I think they have a chance. But yeah, flip. I think Cardiff will smell a chance here. I mean, as we said, the Lions, if they can sort of get a good start, but yeah, that could easily also be like a 50-pointer against them. But yeah, I think Connacht has a more than a good chance. But yeah, I think these quarterfinals are, if you want the top four to go through, I think these quarterfinals are good. But if you want some spice and a possible surprise, I think these quarterfinals are also good. So I think I think this will be a very good weekend in front of the TV for URC fans. I can see how this can go. Do you think how many South African teams are making it to next week?
The Bulls and the Stormers. I've
Yeah,
contradicted myself, but
yeah,
I don't see the Lions winning. I
yeah.
just think their away form and the hype around making the knockouts and everything, I think it's a bit much right now, especially for this Leinster side who they're emotionally going to be wrecked, but they know they need to focus. And I think, they're not going to look at this Lions side and slip up and get caught with their pants down, not
Yeah.
after what has just happened. So I think they kind of want to make a statement to themselves and everyone. So the Stormers and the Bulls, the two home sides, are the most likely to progress out of the South Africans.
Yeah. Okay, I think there's a lot to look forward to. There's Prem Rugby. I think it's the last round of Prem. It's last two rounds of the top 14 as well. The Japan Rugby League One's also going to its quarterfinals. Super Rugby is also pretty close to that. So a lot of domestic rugby to look forward to. The sevens as well. It's like a short start on another rant on the sevens format, and this being the second of the third finals, whatever you call it. But let's before Sean gets a rant and is late for his thing, let's end it there. So thank you so much for listening to the Rugby Best podcast. Please follow us on our social media channels, follow us on X, and wherever you can get your rugby news and updates for this big rugby week. And please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube. And yeah, hopefully we'll do a preview. Maybe we'll see what we can do there. But yeah, follow us for that. And we'll see you later this week. Bye bye.
Bye.